Plant photosynthesis is using the sun as a kind of engine to form an organic substance, which in the form of wood was man's original energy source. This substance is biomass that since our prehistoric times has given the inhabitants of Earth energy to light, heat and cooking.
Biomass, such as wood, has been used for energy purposes ever since mankind learned to control fire. And biomass is renewable because we can always grow more.
80% of the global supply of renewable energy is derived from biomass, and it represents 12% of our total energy consumption worldwide. 12% is also the figure for the gross inland energy consumption of the European Union that is to be covered by renewable sources of energy by the year 2010. To meet this goal, intensified use of biomass needs to be made both for heating purposes and for power generation. But biomass is still not a word that is commonly known.
Very few people would actually know what it really was. But then when you started to say, it is the sort of products of farming that can be used, they will all know what the products of farming are. I mean, they're all very familiar with straw, they're all very familiar with wood shavings and even energy crops, of course. But biomass is not a word in particular that's commonly known.
The past uncertain factors surrounding the use of biomass for energy purposes is now virtually eliminated. Therefore, the way for transformation has been paved, and the optimal use of biomass has a significant impact on energy, agriculture, environment, economy and employment. Several biomass plants have now been established in large parts of Europe in both public and private ownership, and the development of better construction continues at a high pace. Among the renewable energy sources, wind and biomass are the two with the most potential. All of the other renewable technologies to date are intermittent. They follow their resources.
Wind will be intermittent, solar will be intermittent, hydro will be intermittent. This is a nice baseload technology which can be relied upon sort of very much. The one thing you cannot do with the wind is to guarantee that it will be there when you need it. The other thing, because it's baseload, for the same amount of capacity, you actually get far more electricity. And we're finding that roughly a factor of 3. I mean, the same capacity biomass can produce 3 times the energy of the same capacity wind farm.
Biomass can be converted into electricity and heat. Compared to the fossil fuel sources, it can be much more evenly distributed. Over the last 10 years, more than 100 biomass-fired power plants with high efficiency and reliability have been built in Europe. Combustion is the most widespread biomass conversion technology for energy purposes, primarily for heat generation. This typically takes the form of either combustion plants providing heat for individual consumers or facilities supplying heat to district heating schemes. Power generation from biomass combustion is usually steam-based, utilizing steam turbines for the conversion to mechanical energy. The large investment cost associated with this technology makes it less attractive for small-scale installations, and it is therefore mostly applied in relatively large plants. Frequently, it is operated as co-fired schemes, utilizing biomass in combination with other fuels, for instance, coal. For power generation, as well as cogeneration schemes on a smaller scale, alternative routes are being pursued other than combustion and steam turbine combination. Usually, the objective is to convert solid biomass into fuels that can be used in engines or gas turbines. The EU described its targets for renewable energy in the EU White Paper on Renewable Energy Sources, published as early as in 1997. A major barrier to increased use of biomass is based on price policy between fossil energy sources and biomass, as well as in tax structures across Europe. Despite the barriers, there has been a tremendous development in biomass utilization. One of Europe's most active and productive centers of energy science is located in the northern part of Jutland in Denmark. The company Aalborg Energiteknik has developed a massive knowledge base that ensures the design, sales, construction and startup of the process, steam and cogeneration plants. These plants are primarily fired by all kinds of biomass, including wood chips, wood waste and wood dust. In most countries of the European Union, wood plays only a minor role beyond its traditional use in rural areas. Scandinavia and Austria are the exception to this rule. For instance, the town of Linz started up the largest biomass facility of Austria in October 2001, thus making a sustainable contribution to improving local air quality. In Austria, the introduction of small-scale biomass district heating plants has been a resounding success. The Austrian government has backed the use of biomass derived from industrial wood waste and wood from forestry. Using wood as a fuel is the most efficient way of using biomass as an energy source, as the cost of wood is much lower than fossil fuels used for domestic heating.
The city of Linz has 200,000 inhabitants, and we were always trying to find the energy system for the diversification of the fuel. So we were using a lot of oil and gas for the power production of electricity and district heating. Our main source for the biomass plant is untreated wood. This untreated wood is coming direct from the region. So we use now a part of logs because we can make the transportation cheaper for the logs. Then it dries up a little bit. Then we take sawdust and all these things which are coming from the industry. And on the other hand, we also can fire bark and other rests of untreated wood. What is important for this plant, we only use untreated wood. Oh, we're getting the logs with a ship train or by lorry. We're bringing it to our storage area because here we have a little buffer size, maybe up to 3 months. So if there is no transportation possibility or it's in winter time, so we still have the logs on our storage area. And on the other hand, it has a big advantage. The sun and the weather is drying up our wet wood because the wood, when it's fresh, has up to 50% water content. It dries down, maybe when it's laying 1 year here, it only has a water content of 30%. So it's better for the energy production or for the efficiency using dry wood. So behind me you can see the control room where the plant is operated. The plant design is made for a full automatic operation of the power plant. Total production of district heating from this plant is about 200 gigawatt hours, and we are producing more than 65 gigawatt hours of electricity. So in total we have 20,000 customers in the city which are only supplied with this bioenergy from this new plant. The collaboration with IET was very good. IET had won the contract against another plant manufacturers or designers in Europe. At the end, we tried to get a plant with a high efficiency. It was a very professional project management and engineering was done in Denmark by IET.
In Germany, disagreements on the definition of biomass, mainly concerning the utilization of used wood and technologies, led to insecurities for the development of the biomass sector. But the country's 2001 regulation of biomass defines the different materials that may be regarded as biomass and the technologies for its utilization. The Gütersloh plant has an annual input of approximately 120,000 tons of wood chips, wood waste, demolition wood, bark, saw and cinder dust. The plant was commissioned in 2000. AET was a turnkey supplier of the fuel handling, the boiler plant and the flue gas cleaning system.
Die Geschichte des Werkes Gütersloh geht auf das Jahr 1860 zurück, als hier eine Holzhandlung errichtet wurde. Aus dieser Holzhandlung wurde später das Unternehmen Virus, was 1968 im Werk 2 das Spanplattenwerk gebaut hat, wo heute auch unsere KWK ist. Im Jahre 1988 hat Pfleiderer eine Mehrheitsbeteiligung an Virus übernommen und hat die unternehmerische Leitung von Virus übernommen. Und im Jahre 1997 hat Pfleiderer dann die gesamten Anteile von Virus übernommen, sodass der Standort Gütersloh jetzt ein vollständiger Bestandteil der Pfleiderer AG ist. Wir verwenden die Biomasse aus Altholz zur Verbrennung in unserer KWK und wir nutzen sie in zwei Hinsichten. Einmal in einer Hochdruckstufe zur Erzeugung von Strom und einmal in einer Niederdruckstufe zur Erzeugung von Dampf, um unsere Spantrockner zu betreiben. Zum wirtschaftlichen Betrieb von Verbrennungsanlagen mit Biomasse braucht man insbesondere zwei Faktoren. Das sind zum einen sehr erfahrene Mitarbeiter, die die Anlage steuern können, und zum anderen braucht man Biomasse zu niedrigen Kosten. Und insbesondere durch die sehr hohe Nachfrage in der letzten Zeit steigen die Kosten für Biomasse deutlich. Das Angebot ist rückläufig und diese Entwicklung betrachten wir durchaus mit Sorge. Also Biomasse hat im Vergleich zu anderen Energieträgern einen relativ niedrigen Heizwert, der zwischen 12 und 16 Megajoule pro Kilogramm liegt. Heizöl hat hier zum Beispiel im Vergleich knapp 37 Megajoule pro Kilogramm. Zudem ist der Investitionsbedarf für eine Verbrennungsanlage für Biomasse sehr hoch. Und dies rechnet sich nur, wenn man es wie wir als Kraft-Wärme-Kupplung betreiben kann. Das heißt, wenn man sowohl Strom erzeugt als auch die Wärme nutzen kann für den Betrieb einer Spanplattenanlage zum Beispiel. Wir haben hier in Gütersloh etwa 12 bis 15 zertifizierte Lieferanten für die Biomasse und diese Lieferanten selber stellen die Biomasse aus Altholzfraktionen her, die etwa im Umkreis von 150 Kilometern um Gütersloh entstehen. Zum einen sind unsere Lieferanten zertifiziert, zum anderen sind wir selbst auch als Entsorgungsfachbetrieb zertifiziert. Und sowohl bei unseren Lieferanten als auch bei uns finden ständige Kontrollen statt. Bei uns ist es so, dass wir unsere Anlieferungen in unserem eigenen Labor untersuchen und zudem überwachen wir ständig unsere Abgaswerte in der KWK.
To the start button can be pressed in and the use of biomass to produce electricity and process heat may begin. A cogeneration plant must be built. But before the first turf of the construction can be cut, a large number of complicated tasks must be solved. The entire project development starts with feasibility and profitability calculations. Alongside, the application for the environmental permit must be designed and submitted. Unfortunately, it is in most places a long and labor-intensive process to obtain a building permit. Many projects will not be implemented because the building license cannot be achieved. But many others can be carried out, and the highly trained team of AET master all the disciplines which guarantee safe, reliable and profitable plant operations. AET has since 1997 been experiencing a steady growth. The reason for the success is the exploitation of the unique capabilities that exist in the company.
All the way through a project, we try to keep in close contact with our client in order to help him get the best possible plant as the end result. Quite often in the course of a project, some conditions will change, and this may require finding new solutions in short notice And a close relationship with a client that's built on trust and openness and honesty usually makes it easier to make the necessary decisions. Of course, sometimes we disagree with our client on some points, but we try to not let that slow us down in what is our main task, which is to ensure that the client gets a good and well-functioning plant on time. We'd rather find a working solution here and now and then take the argument later. It's usually easier to find an understanding when the plant is working well. And sometimes this approach costs us some money, but we usually end up with a satisfied client.
Wales is rich in coal. It has been burned for centuries. Burning coal is the main reason why Britain has emitted more carbon dioxide per head of population than any other country. But coal is not the only energy source in the country. This plant, which is now fully operational, is the first commercial-scale biomass renewable energy power station in Wales. The wood combustion plant, sited in Margam, Port Talbot, generates enough energy which is sufficient to meet the needs of 31,000 homes. The plant itself burns 160,000 tons per year of clean wood, a large proportion of which is supplied from managed woodland in South Wales. By burning this sustainable fuel, some 47,000 tons per year of carbon dioxide from fossil fuel are avoided.
This is the first dedicated biomass plant in Wales. The only other project is a coal-fired power station that's taking in a proportion of wood to mix in with coal under what's known as co-firing. But this project will take 100% wood as fuel. It has to be clean wood under the consents we have. We're not allowed to burn any contaminated material. And that clean wood, 60% of it will come from the Forestry Commission under long-term contracts that we have with them, taking combinations of roundwood, chips and brash. We're not allowed to burn contaminated wood. There is a directive under European law known as the Waste Incineration Directive. To burn contaminated wood, you would actually have to comply with that, and rightly so, through sort of earlier concerns on burning of waste and contaminated waste. There is very strong emission controls on such materials. Our consents for this project do not allow us to do that, so it will be all clean wood. What we're taking is the sort of the thinner stems, diseased stems, twisted stems, maybe even fire damaged stems, and it's all coming from material that formerly didn't have a home.
The plant was designed and constructed by a consortium consisting of Aalborg Energiteknik and Burmeister and Wayne Scandinavian contractor. AET has delivered a number of projects in Central Europe and is focusing on the biomass handling and combustion processes.
Our combustion concept is based on spreader stoker and a travelling grate, which is a technology with roots back to the years between the World War I and World War II in the US. But we've continuously developed and refined this technology such that today's one of the most well-suited technologies for biomass firing. It's a very robust technology, it's flexible and can be used for many different types of fuel. It also gives us the possibility of achieving very low emissions and high efficiency.
One of the requirements in order to achieve a good combustion with the low excess air ratio is that the air in the combustion is mixed very effectively.
This is achieved by placing the air nozzles at the right places and injecting the air with a very high velocity. Another advantage in having a lower excess air ratio is that we send less heat up the chimney because the amount of flue gas is simply smaller. And a smaller heat loss is good for the efficiency of the plant and also then for the operating economy of the plant. It also means less pollution of the environment.
The operational team should be a core of about 17 people. The maintenance actually will be done by the builders as well. We've actually been lucky enough to secure not just a construction contract with them, but a maintenance contract with them. And that really helps, because what you can get with biomass projects, or any form of project actually, is if you get a fault shortly after you finish completion of building, the operator will blame the builder, and the builder will blame the operator. And it actually removes any of the interface problems.
But it's not enough to get each subsystem working. The systems also have to function well together as a whole, and that's why we put a lot of effort into integrating individual systems in the overall plant. Especially the coordination of interfaces between various subsystems is important, and part of the task is to build good relationships with our suppliers and make different sub-suppliers work well together.
It is easy to be convinced about the great perspective of the biomass-fired power plants, but questions keep turning up, like why is biomass sustainable and why is it a renewable technology?
The reason for it is it's actually taking the carbon out of the atmosphere almost immediately before it's burned. We're actually recycling carbon on a very short time scale, whereas if you burn fossil fuels, you're putting carbon back into the atmosphere that was in the atmosphere millions of years ago, so you're actually adding to existing carbon. Biomass doesn't do that. It's recycling existing, and there is a small amount actually captured in the roots which actually don't get burned anyway, which actually means that there is an overall benefit. And of course, while you're generating electricity, it's stopping the burning of fossil fuel as well.
The use of biomass as an energy source is perhaps the most mature technology used by man, beginning with the controlled use of fire. And there remains a big market for biomass-fired power plants in Europe.
The focus on biomass is quite intense at the moment. If you think about it, they're looking at some form of renewable heat obligation. I think most of the European countries are looking to use heat as a renewable resource, and if they're going to do it, it's principally going to have to come from biomass. Europe has a renewables transport obligation and transport aspirations, and again that will have to come from biomass, and traditional power itself will have to come from biomass. So in terms of the energy sector, biomass will play a very, very big part in the future.